What's happening, everyone? My name is Phil with Think, Make, Do, and today we are working on the master closet shelves that go into the master closet. So I think I have the design, so I'll put that up right now. And it's going to be a floating shelf system with two shelves or a set of shelves on each end of the closet. And that's because the closet itself is super deep, 36 inches deep, when a typical shelf is maybe like 24, 26 inches deep, or a typical closet, sorry. So we have extra room I want to utilize on the sides with some floating shelves. And then the center will be a much more traditional double set of hangers, top and bottom on the left side, and then a set of hangers on the right side that are extra long for dresses, long coats, whatever. So what I have is a bunch of plywood, and because plywood's so expensive, the cost difference between a regular sheet of 3/4 inch ply versus a white pre-finished sheet was $10, $60 versus $70. So I said, screw it, let's try the pre-finished stuff. That way, there's a lot less work to do at the end. And I've also got some, I don't know where it is, but linoleum or melamine edge banding to make everything look white and neat at the end of the project. So it's just going to be a series of boxes and shelves, nothing too crazy, but we'll start cutting and get to work.
The first thing I did here was cut out my 13-inch strips that was going to be used for both the left and the right hand shelving. Now I took the 4x8 plywood and used a aluminum straight edge that I got from Home Depot, and I'll link that in the description, to cut out these pieces. Now typically you could just use a table saw if you have a table saw extension, it's a big enough work area. Mine's kind of a mobile station that I take outside into this parking lot area, and I can only use the table saw if I have a small enough piece. And so once I had my strips cut, I went ahead and used the table saw to clean up and make sure all of my widths were exactly the same for all of my shelves, left and right. So I don't have the most accurate tools to work with here, and I wanted to make sure that all of my lengths and widths on both shelving systems were the same. So I actually clamped all 4 of my side walls together that I'd be using for this project and cut them all the same at the same time, and then kept them clamped and had Justin, who's been helping me out on this project, go ahead and sand all the side walls so they'd be completely even. This also helped out in terms of our preparation for the melamine edge banding, as well as the paint process that we're going to go through later on. After that was done, we made sure that the top and bottom lengths were the same, and then we can get to the more fun part, which is assembly. Now typically you would use a pocket hole jig to make sure that everything comes together well and there is a lot less visible screw holes, but I didn't have one and I thought I could get away with not using it. I think in the future you'll see we had to spend extra time getting these plastic stickers to hide my screw holes in the middle of the shelving, so definitely pocket holes are the way to go. Either way, what you do see me using are these 90-degree right angle jigs, and those I got off Amazon for like $20 a piece, and those were super helpful. Tons of brands out there, I'll link the ones I used, but really you can use anything. I did pre-drill all of my holes so that we wouldn't crack any of the plywood, and then we also made a backing strip along the top of the shelf and the midpoint of the shelf so that we would have something to screw into against the wall to make these truly floating shelves. This is again something where a pocket hole might have been a better idea, but whatever. We made do with what we had. At this point, we brought the project over to the house for final assembly, as well as to make final dimensional edits just in case, because, walls are never that straight. You do see me here using a Craig shelf jig, and that's because I've never made shelves before, and I really wanted to make them all adjustable for the homeowner, just in case they wanted to put some larger objects or smaller objects in there that I wasn't thinking about. The Craig jig is an awesome tool. It helps you set the pins, and you really have to do very little thinking to get really perfect, straight, balanced holes. I can't tell you enough. Super useful tool. Now I know we're skipping a little bit ahead here, but I ended up losing some footage. So what you're seeing here is me post-installation of the shelving and then installing the top shelf, the backing support, the middle shelf, and some of the pins that are going to hold our rails in place. The next thing that we're doing here in the closet is installing the doors. And right now we are pre-testing the doors to make sure we understand which way we want them to open. Now on these cheaper Home Depot style doors, you can actually install them, I guess, right side up and upside down. And that actually changes the angle of how the closet door sits. And you can see the one here on the right, it's sitting so that it's angling outward when it's open. If you flip it upside down and turn all the hardware around, it'll kind of open at a slight angle inward. We wanted to make sure that that angle was outward for the best appearance, and because we were adding something a little extra to these doors, we needed to make sure that we had enough space on the edges to fully open and close without binding against the wall. And you'll see that here in just a minute why. Now, if you've never done something called wainscoting, it is a super easy and a really cheap way to brighten up, liven up, and class up a room without doing too much work. So we're using MDF, I think it's 1x2 inch strips here, and we are adding MDF wainscoting to the doors as the bifold, right? Now we've also selected about 1/3 of the way up an additional strip that goes across the middle to complete that wainscoting effect. So you go from that look to that look right there. And that's what I'm saying, because the edges of that wainscoting on the door is very thick. We needed to make sure that those closet doors opened up properly. Well, you know the story of my life. It seems like we lost all the footage of us painting. So this is the completed project. I think we did a really good job taking our concept and turning it into reality, minus the little stickers with all of our screw holes. I think everything looks very seamless and something that you would probably pay a professional to make, I think. And we put a really nice light in there. But we totally forgot about the light switch and had to make a custom cutout just to fit that shelf in there. Anyway, live and learn. Catch you next time.